Well, I mean, he had a lot to say while he was working for the White House, so I'm sure he'll have a lot to say today. He was very vocal and very active on Twitter, so we're going to ask him, a lot of questions about what he would say publicly from behind the podium at the White House and what he would tweet about, and see if he still stands by a lot of those claims he made.
Do you have an update on timing for tomorrow, when you expect to start getting documents from the DOJ on Epstein, and when you
No, we just expect to get them tomorrow.
And when do you think you might release them publicly? Do you know at all?
Well, we're going to review and we'll work as quickly as we can. This is sensitive information. We want to make sure we don't do anything to harm or jeopardize any victims that were involved in this. But we're going to be transparent. We're doing what we said we would do. We're getting the documents, and I believe the White House will work with us.
Can I ask you on tomorrow? This material was already redacted by DOJ, right? So what further redactions or considerations do you have?
Well, I mean, I can't imagine very many scenarios where we would further redact anything. Usually we have concerns over redaction, so we're just going to see what they send us, and we'll go from there.
And you think it'll move out fairly quickly?
That's our goal.
Do you expect to call more witnesses in this investigation on the Biden decline? Right now, I think you only have this one and 3 more scheduled. Do you need to hear from more people?
Well, I think there are a few more people that should want to set the record straight. We'll talk about that at a later date, but what we've said all along is we're going to get through this initial batch of depositions and transcribed interviews, and then go from there. But look, it's very clear the president was shielded from the media, from most of his cabinet secretaries, and from the American people. A lot of activity happened, especially during the lame duck period with that Autopen, and we haven't seen, or I haven't seen anything yet that would lead me to believe that the president knew a lot about what was going on with that Autopen, and that's very concerning. So we're going to have the deposition with Ian Sams this morning, and I'm sure I'll be coming out in an hour or two and giving you an update on what's going on. But thank you all for being here.
How integral do you think Sams is to being able to tell us whether Biden assented to using the Autopen, because he was there in the special counsel's office? Are you going to ask him? What are you planning to ask him?
Yeah, we're going to ask him a lot of questions about the president's mental state. Ian Sams was the one that came out and was the first to attack the Hur report when it came out, when Hur stated the obvious that the president was in a deep decline. Ian Sams was quick to attack Robert Hur and attack the Wall Street Journal or any other media publication that wrote about that. So we'll see what he says today, because we all know after the Hur report that was very factual. And if anything, Robert Hur was being kind to President Biden. So we've seen the video, and we've all seen the debate performance, and we've seen the decline at the very few opportunities we had to witness Joe Biden during the lame duck period. So we'll see if Ian Sams continues to be as vocal about the president's health today as he was when he was being employed by the president.
Is there any indication of tomorrow's deadline being pushed at all?
Do what?
Is there any indication of tomorrow's deadline being pushed?
Expect to get them tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. That was probably the most informative transcribed interview / deposition we've had thus far. I'll give Mr. Sams credit. He answered our questions. And I think one of the most shocking things to me is, and you'll have to remember, because many of you quoted every word he said religiously, throughout his entire tenure as the White House spokesperson. He communicated with Joe Biden 2 times. He saw Joe Biden, talked to Joe Biden 2 times, the entire stint as White House spokesperson. But yet he would every day tweet and issue statements from the podium of the White House, combating everything that we were doing in the Oversight Committee with respect to the investigation, combating the Hur report, saying he didn't know. In fact, Robert Hur spent more time with Joe Biden than Ian Sams. Think about that. Robert Hur spent significantly more time with Joe Biden than Ian Sams did. So when we would ask questions, well, you said this, did Joe Biden tell you that? And well, I got it from the president. Did Joe Biden tell you this? Did Joe Biden send you an email himself? Well, no. So it raises serious concerns and serious questions about who was calling the shots in the White House. If the White House spokesperson is being shielded from the President of the United States, who was operating the Oval Office? I mean, this is what this whole investigation is about. That Autopen was used excessively, and yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the was given the orders to use the Autopen. And if you're using the Autopen to sign one document and Joe Biden's in the White House, 75% of the time when the document's used, why not have Joe Biden sign the document right there? Why have to go through all the bureaucracy of using the Autopen? I mean, this was a huge interview today, and I think it contradicts everything that the former Biden people are saying with respect to the president's mental fitness. There were very few people that were around Joe Biden, especially at the end, and that's when the majority of the pardons and executive orders were signed with that Autopen. I mean, I can't say this enough. I want to say this one more time so everyone understands. Ian Sams, who was the White House spokesperson for a significant amount of Joe Biden's time as president, interacted with him two times. So, we're going to continue to bring people in. And again, this person, Ian Sams, is the one that would counter everything Robert Hur, or anytime anyone would suggest that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit, he would say, no, he's at the top of his game. Every time he tweeted out, and there several times he gave interviews on MSNBC. Every time I've interacted with the president, he was sharp. He asked great questions. In there, under oath, he interacted with the president two times, the entire time. The entire time he worked in the White House. That's astonishing. Any questions?
Did he tell you what those two times were? Like, do you know what those two interactions
No,
were?
he really didn't have a good memory of the two times he interacted with the president, which would make me think that he didn't interact with him very long. Let this sink in. Not only did Robert Hur interact longer with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's own spokesperson, I interacted more with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's spokesperson. I flew on Air Force One with Joe Biden to Kentucky when we had a tornado. I talked to him on Air Force One. Ian Sams never flew on Air Force One. Do you recall a president's spokesperson not traveling with the president when he traveled? He never went on Air Force One. I've been on Air Force One with Joe Biden.
Did he say, though, in his two interactions with him that the president was mentally sharp? Or
Oh, of course
how
he did.
he
Yeah, well, he
describe
had
it?
to. He said that in front of you all 100 times.
But in there, when he acknowledged you'd only been with him twice, during those two times, did he describe the president as mentally
Well,
sharp?
he had to, absolutely, because he said that, for hours and hours and hours of press conferences and TV interviews on MSNBC and CNN.
Did you get any indication about what kind of legal advice the White House counsel, I mean, he was a spokesperson, like what the White House counsel was giving Biden as far as legal advice for using?
Well, he said that most of his talking points came from White House counsel. So, again, this is the president's spokesperson who has no communication with the president. It leads to further concern that Joe Biden was not the one calling the shots. And that's what this entire investigation is about. We went through lines in the Hur report where Hur specifically stated that the president's memory was poor, his ability was limited, and and then I went back and asked questions about the Biden investigation, the influence peddling investigation, because if you'll recall, he attacked me every day, saying that there was no evidence and all this. I said, do you stand by that? And he never would answer the question. I said, were you surprised that Joe Biden pardoned his entire family? And he said he was surprised. I said, is that an admission of guilt? I said, he pardoned the spouses. The only place in the world the spouses were ever mentioned was in our final report. And he pardoned the entire family. It is his last act as president. And I think that everyone in America knows that was an admission of guilt. So, again, I think this is explosive. When you all read the transcript, I think you will agree. This was the White House spokesperson. It just pours fuel on the fire that Joe Biden was not the one making the decision with respect to who was using the Autopen.
Do you have a sense of how many times President Biden used the Autopen in the last couple of years of his administration?
Yes, we've looked at all of that.
How much?
Well, there were thousands. But it was the most prolific use of the Autopen was after the president dropped out.
Did Ian Sams have any information about nefarious use of that? I mean, you're talking about when he didn't have much interaction.
No, he wasn't in the loop. I mean, this guy, in his defense, he was not in the inner circle, okay? But he was the spokesperson. I've read presidential history books. I'm sure you all have as well. I mean, do you ever know of the White House spokesperson not having access to the president?
Sir, he was not the main White House spokesman.
But
was not the
he
press
spoke
secretary.
every day
Okay, but he wasn't
for
the
a year.
You're describing him as the main.
And we're bringing in the main spokesperson, Ms. Jean-Pierre, very soon. So.
What is Democrats' questioning been like in that?
The Democrat questions may have lasted 3 minutes. They let him read an opening statement, and they did their basic, what's your favorite color, and who's your favorite cartoon character. I'm exaggerating that, but that was pretty much.
So you're getting to the end here. You've got 3 more interviews that are at least scheduled. What are the potential outcomes here? Are legislation, charges? What are we looking at?
Well, we'll just have to see. And again, we'll release all the transcripts once everyone has testified. We want to make sure that everyone's testimony is consistent. But I think we're seeing a pattern here, a pattern that would suggest Joe Biden was not leading the White House. And with respect to the Autopen, we'll have a lot more to say about that at the end of the investigation. So thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate it.